Hi, welcome to That Board Game Show. Today's podcast, we're going to be talking about our weekend that we call CabinCon. And I'm Sonja, and here I have my son with me, James.
Hello.
There he is. And we are sitting here in our little sound cave. We call it our sound cave because we turned a
Closet.
walk-in, a walk-in wardrobe.
It's quite a big closet, but
Yeah.
a closet nonetheless.
Well, you walk into it, so that makes it a big one. And we turned it into this padded room for crazy people like us who like to play board games all weekend. But there's some other crazy people out there, so we're not alone.
Not alone in our madness.
No. But anyway, let me tell you all about CabinCon. We call it CabinCon because we've got a wood cabin, a log cabin in the woods. A log cabin in the woods. And we're very, very pleased with our little log cabin. It's so cute. And we invite people to come and play games with us there. So it's kind of perfect. A nice location to sit quietly, separate from the world's craziness and sit down for the weekend and play games. I'm sure there's people that think that would just be wonderful. I'm not the only one that thinks this is wonderful. I'm convinced of that. But anyway, let us tell you about our last CabinCon. And that was, we had quite a few people. We call it quite a few. It was about 6, which means that our little cabin was full. Yeah. It's got 6 beds. So it was a full house. And they come, they bring games, and we bring our games, and we sit and play games all weekend. And then we eat food in between when the need arises, like lunch at 3:00. Anyway, this last one, we played a couple of games which we want to talk to you about. This last one, meaning this last weekend at the cabin. And the one game we played was one that Jamie and I had been waiting to play because we are pandemic fans. And this game is a pandemic game, but not...
It's a pandemic system game. So it's Star Wars, the Clone Wars is the actual name. And it's not actually designed by Matt Leacock, so Matt Leacock designed Pandemic, but this game is designed by someone else who I can't remember the name of.
So what, you're going to consult the tablet?
I'm going to consult the BGG Oracle.
Oh, the BGG Oracle.
And find out who designed it.
Okay, well, while Jamie's finding out the details, what I can tell you is it's pretty. It's actually not pretty, as in the next game I'm going to tell you about, which is absolutely spectacularly stunning. I wouldn't call Star Wars, what is it? Star Wars, the Clone Wars pandemic game exactly pretty, but it's a lovely design and it's a nice layout, and you've got all the little droids, hey, Jamie, that come out. They're called droids, aren't they?
Yeah. So they're the droids from it's set in the time period of the TV show, which is the Clone Wars, hence the name.
Oh, right.
And so it's the Clone Wars era of the Star Wars trilogy. So, Star Wars saga. So I think the second... Which film was it?
No, I don't know. But what I do know...
I think it's the second. It's between like the second and the third films of the prequel trilogies is where the Clone Wars took place.
Okay.
And so they made a whole spin-off animated TV show based on that.
Okay.
And then the board game is based on the TV show. So all the art from the cards and everything is from the TV show.
What do they call it? That's got a reference. Still frames or something other.
Well, it's an animated show, so it's not really... stills.
Okay.
I think it's actually, it looks like original art, but done in the style of the characters and things from the TV show.
Okay. And I mean, you're good at explaining how the game goes. I want to tell them the story how we got the game. Not we.
No, we didn't.
The game doesn't belong to us. One of the guests that came to CabinCon brought it.
We want to get this. Maybe that will be a future podcast episode of how we came to get our own copy.
We came to get our own one day, eventually. It is a game that we would like to add to our library. There's no doubt about that because we have collected the other pandemic games. Have you found your answers there?
Yep.
Who was...
It is designed by Alexander Ortloff and art by Atta Kanani.
Well, let's hope you're
Apologies
those right.
for butchering those names if I got it all wrong.
Yeah, they sound difficult.
And published by Z-Man Games.
Didn't Z-Man do the other pandemics?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So hence them doing it. So basically Pandemic was designed by Matt Leacock. And now what Z-Man is doing is they've done this one, and then there's another one called, I think, Wrath of the Lich King or something. It's based on World of Warcraft.
Another pandemic-based.
Yeah, pandemic system, they're now calling it. So it's Star Wars The Clone Wars,
new
a pandemic system game.
Hmm.
Traverse a galaxy where iconic Jedi heroes utilize the familiar gameplay mechanisms of the pandemic series in Star Wars The Clone Wars. That's their little tagline.
The little splurb. You're reading that off? BGG.
Board Game Geek, yeah.
Okay. Now, about the game, actually, because it's cooperative, I love it. And what we were doing, you know what, you can explain how the game works. I
It works
know the experience.
basically the same as Pandemic, for which I've done a video. So
but we had these,
if you want to know how Pandemic plays, you can go watch that.
On that board game show.
On that board game show YouTube channel. I've done a solo playthrough, run-through demo of Pandemic. And so Star Wars The Clone Wars plays basically the same. So you've got the map, the board is all the different planets laid out in like a...
That's what makes it quite different looking.
Yeah.
It's not the world map, it's all the planets. It's like
planets.
The solar system, sort of. Yeah.
And at the beginning of the game, you set up by dropping these little droid minis all over the map. So you'll have clusters of them all over the place. And then the Jedis get distributed around the map in random locations. And you have to go on missions. And there's 2 missions on the go at any given time. And you have to complete 4 missions and then defeat the big bad boss. So there's a whole bunch of big bad bosses. You've got General Grievous. You've got Count Dooku. You've got the one we played against was, what was her name? Asajj Ventress or something.
Yeah.
What was her name?
Okay, he's
I'll have to look it up again.
He's consulting.
Back to the Oracle.
Back to the Oracle again. But what I can tell you is the experience of it. We were so engrossed and like, okay, we've got to do this now, and you do that, and I'll do this, and if we don't do that, then this is going to happen. And it was literally like that from moment to moment. There wasn't a time that we were ho-hamming our way through the game at all. There was tremendous engagement and excitement, really. And the other thing I think that made it really exciting is that we conquered the 4 missions that we needed to, and then the lady who Jamie's trying to find her name, the big boss.
It was Asajj Ventress.
That
was the baddie we played against.
Yeah, and it was literally the very last seconds.
Yeah, it was down to the wire.
Yeah.
I think we had like one turn. The first game went okay, but I think we got a couple of rules wrong. so we won that one quite handily. Then we played a second game, and that one we played against Darth Maul. So there are Darth Maul, General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, and Count Dooku. 4 different villains that you can play against. And so each time you're going to play against a different villain.
Changes the game. And
the
missions,
what they're doing.
Many
and there's a whole
missions.
big fat deck of mission cards, and you're only ever encountering 4 of them per game.
So I think suffice to say that this game was a great success at CabinCon. We were playing with these stairs upstairs to like a loft room, and 4 of the people were playing upstairs, and 4 of us were playing downstairs. And, what were they playing upstairs?
Scythe.
Oh, they're playing South upstairs. And it was so fun because we kept on hearing these comments from upstairs from the South game, and they kept on hearing these, oh no, from downstairs when we thought we were going to lose a planet or whatever it might be. It was just a lot of fun. And then we went on to play Meadow. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you don't know Meadow, well, I'm just going to ask you to go look at the art of Meadow. Because
do yourself a favor and look it up on BGG.
Yeah.
Because it's stunning.
It's like every card is a masterpiece. I don't know of a game that I have experienced so much pleasure from the art as this game Meadow. Really, I mean, we've got beautiful games, but this one just went to the top of my list because every card, it's like I couldn't stop looking at them. Hard to explain it. It's like
they're like sort of watercolor style,
nature watercolor.
Very anatomically correct with all the animals and nature and everything. So it's
and the bleed, or we call it the bleed because we run a print house. So I don't know if that's
full bleed.
Bleed.
The art on the cards goes all the way to the edge of the card. There's no border or framing or text on the cards. So the cards are just art
They're just beautiful.
And then tiny little icons for telling you what they do and how they interact with each other.
And the gameplay as well was just such a pleasure. I just got lost. I got completely lost in the world of this Meadow game by going for a walk and discovering things. And I must tell you something funny, actually, is that in this game, there's a board on the side. It's a circular board, and it's got a campfire in the middle and benches around it. And you can go there as one of your actions. But you can only go there if you can put down a little chit. Oh, no, it's not there. No, you
it's
can
optional.
go there and to do one of the other actions.
Yeah, so
those are the details.
You've got your little action pawns, and they're sort of cut in half. So the one half you're going to put on the main board where you can either get a card.
One of the pretty cards.
Or you can put it on this campfire board, which lets you do a different kind of
other
action.
Things, collect roads or whatever.
Also sometimes collect cards, but in different ways. So you can draw cards direct from a deck instead of from the cards on the board or
things like that. But anyway, the guy who was showing us the game, Gavin, he said, when you go to the campfire, you've got to tell a story about when you sit down at the campfire, there's little icons of different items that are found on the cards. So, for example,
like a butterfly and a beetle.
Yeah. And so you must now tell a story about a butterfly and a beetle. And so I love telling stories. I was very keen to get to the campfire. And all I could think about was getting to the campfire so I could tell a story. Anyway, we got to the campfire and it became a joke because the moment I got to the campfire, it was like everybody sat back in their chairs and, okay, right, this might take a while. Sonja's going to tell a story. And I would tell a story. And what was interesting is because we live on a private nature reserve, the stories were very, very easy to tell, and I had to tell them, okay, now this is a true story. It's not make-believe or fantasy or any such thing. This is a true story, and I'd tell them a story about a butterfly and a beetle. And it would be a story that had actually happened, like, for example, we've got butterflies in this region called the Karkloof blue, and they're only in this region. So when I went to the campfire and the little chit on this one side of me was a butterfly, the story of the Karkloof blue immediately came to me. So I could tell them that story. However, when we finished playing this game and having an enormous amount of fun, we discover after the fact that there's absolutely nowhere whatsoever in the rule book about telling a story at the campfire. Thanks, Gavin. That was your contribution. And it just made me think, isn't it incredible how we can take a game and just really expound upon it to make it your own experience? Because we did not know, did we, that wasn't actually part of the game. We thought it was part of the game.
He said it so convincingly that as if it's a rule that we just took it for granted that, okay, well, it's part of the gameplay.
And we also discovered some natural storytellers and others that said, okay, I
saw a butterfly and I saw a beetle.
End. Okay, let's try a little bit more than that. Okay, and so then some people were avoiding going to the campfire because it meant they're going to have to tell a story. Meantime, it's not even part of the game.
It's also an optional thing. So at the campfire, one of the main things to go there for is to do these other actions. And then in the middle, around the campfire, there's these little chits that match the icons on the cards in front of you. So if you go to the campfire and you have the matching icons to match two of the chits next to each other,
side,
then you can drop a little point token there.
And you get some points.
Yeah.
And so some people go there to get the points.
Bonus action, basically.
And other people go there because they get a chance to tell a story. Yeah. Anyway, that was Meadow. That was our other experience at CabinCon. Of course, we could tell you all sorts of others about the fact that it was such a beautiful day. And this meadow to me meant that we should be playing it on the deck because it's just too beautiful to play inside. Let's go and put it on the deck and let's sit amongst the trees and play this beautiful game. Really get into the theme. But then the owner of the game didn't like that idea too much because the deck has got its wooden slats and he was concerned his little precious pieces might fall down.
Might disappear.
And was quite a good call-off on his part because we were getting quite excited about the game that who knows what could have happened to the little bits and pieces. But anyway, what we did is we set up the table just inside on the other side of the deck, at the doors that lead out to the deck. So it was still good. There's so many elements of these cabin cons that are just interesting. including even the food, because we have all kinds of interesting snacks going on, which is something I wanted to talk about in a podcast one day. Because, we don't want grubby and oily fingers on our...
It's always a bit of a trick finding
and so
gamer-friendly snacks.
So what we've done is we make breadsticks, and they're very easy to make. It's just bread dough, and you roll it up and pop in the oven for 10 minutes. And we make them with sesame seeds or with cinnamon sugar. And we have these breadsticks at the table. Now, cinnamon sugar could have some little bits of cinnamon sugar dust particles landing on the game, but not generally. They're kind of stuck into the dough. And when you're eating on a breadstick, it doesn't leave the same amount of mess, actually. You can have crumbs and things, but not oily fingers or sticky fingers, none of that. So that's something we've been focusing on a bit for our cabin cons, is making sure that the food, would you believe it, we've been matching our food to fit in with being appropriate for board game playing. So that's what we do at CabinCon.
Or alternatively, you can do what was shown to us in a little skit video from Things Get Dicey.
Yes, from Paula, wasn't it?
Paula Deming.
Yes.
Did a little parody comedy sketch video on board game stuff. And one of the things she did was use chopsticks to eat chips while playing board games. And it was done as a joke, but we've, I think, done that ever since.
We've done that ever since, but people don't like it because, one, they have to handle the chopsticks.
Most people can't coordinate chopsticks.
They can't coordinate, and then they break the thing in the other.
And then they end up making more of a mess.
And they make a big mess, and it actually becomes quite hilarious. But so it depends what you're trying to pick up with your chopsticks. But it works for us.
Yeah.
Because we're keen on Chinese, and we do enjoy sushi and the like. And so we used to chopsticks. So we use it for our board game tables, to use it to pick up things that would otherwise be sticky and messy. So that is what I had to talk about. I mean, as I say, this CabinCon, there's a lot of things we could talk about at CabinCon, but those were the two games that I played. You played a couple of other games.
Yeah, I also played, because you didn't come the second day.
Do you know why I didn't come the second day? It's got absolutely nothing to do with board games, but I was making cheese. And what happened, I don't know. But anyway, I spilt the hot boiling whey over my hands. Do you know what a tragedy that is when you've got CabinCon on the weekend and you're wanting to play games the next day and you've got both your hands bound with what those things called? Heat packs? No, not
burn packs.
Burn packs. Burn shield.
Scalding hot water all over your hands.
It was actually whey, so it was a little bit sticky. Oh, let's not remember that. But anyway, I didn't make it to the next day at CabinCon, but you did go. So what games did you play that day?
That day I played Oracle of Delphi. Or Oracle of Delphi.
And I especially asked them to bring that because I wanted to play that game. It's one of my games I love playing at board game weekends because we don't have it. So we like it when we get
been hunting for it for ages, but I think it's out of print now and it's very, very hard to come by. So fortunately, one of our gamer friends has it. And so we played that. That's a older game from Stefan Feld. Stefan.
Oh, he's back at the...
I'm back at the Oracle.
He's back at the Oracle. So I'm going to just tell you something about our list.
Hang on.
We have got so many would like to haves on our list. And I don't think we're alone. I'm sure there's people out there listening and they go, yeah, well, they can identify with that. They hope to have one day a list of board games.
Oracle of Delphi, first published in 2016, designed by Stefan Feld.
You were right.
With art by Dennis Lohausen.
Oh.
Navigate the Aegean as you race to complete 12 quests to impress Zeus.
Ooh.
Each player has a board in front of them with these 12 little quest tiles at the top. And you all start in the center of this modular map. And you got your little ship and you're sailing your ship around and picking up quests and, doing sort of pick up and deliver things and little minor combat encounters and fulfilling various requirements and things. And it's basically just a race to complete your 12 quests.
It's quite a lot of quests to complete.
And that was quite funny because the person who owns it was showing me how to play and they hadn't played it in a while. So we were both kind of refreshing the rules as we went. And one of the quests you have to do is you've got these 3, I think they're like temples or something on your board. And you have to get your temples out onto the map. And how you get them out onto the map is there's these face-down tiles with fog on the one side, on the back, and you have to sail to them, flip them over, and if it's your color, so it's, I think, 3 of each of the different player colors, and you put them all out no matter how many players you're playing with. So when you sail out to them, you flip it over, and if it's your color, you can drop your temple on it. And that's completing a quest.
You have to keep sailing.
If it's not, you have to keep going and going and going until you find it. And so the person I'm playing with, Charmaine, literally every single one of these she went to was a color other than her own.
Oh, shame.
So she was sailing all over the map.
Oh, shame.
Hunting for these things and just not finding any.
Oh, no. Goes like that, though.
Yeah, sometimes it just does not turn out in your favor.
Mm. And what is the other game you played?
Other game was Error.
All right.
Which has a subtitle. I'm back on BGG to find out.
Oh. You can tell we have so many games.
There's too many to keep all this information in your head.
We're thankful for BGG.
Error, Medieval Age. 3D roll and build. Create your empire. Avoid disasters and extort enemies. Designed by Matt Leacock.
Oh, wow. Another one of Matt Leacock's.
Art by Chris Quilliams.
Huh.
So that is basically a roll and write, essentially, but instead of writing, you've got these fairly impressive little, like, pegboard things for each player. Mm. And then into the pegboards, you're clipping 3D buildings.
Wow.
So you've got, like,
I never even got to see that.
Farmhouse, and you've got markets, and you've got cathedrals, and you're building your city wall around your little village. And
sure, that's different.
And each turn is determined by a dice roll. So it's kind of Yahtzee style. You roll, set aside, that kind of thing.
That.
And you're building out sets of dice, and you're going to sometimes roll little skulls on some of your dice, and that's going to do negative things either to you or to the other players. Mm. So I think if you roll even numbers on the skulls, it does something bad to you. If you roll odd numbers, it does something bad to everyone else. So,
and your experience of that one?
That one, it's one I've been wanting to play for a very long time, primarily because it's got Matt Leacock on the box. Yeah, so it's one I've been wanting to play for a very long time. Maybe with 4 players, it was a bit slow.
Okay.
So I do find...
Would it be one that we would like to have in our library?
I don't know. I'd have to play it again.
That's a dangerous question
normally. It wasn't an immediate, must have this kind of thing. I think...
Like Meadow. And like Star Wars.
Well, you didn't finish your Meadow story.
No, I didn't finish my Meadow story. Oh, no, it's just too incredible, the end of the Meadow story. Should I tell them? Okay.
You can't leave them hanging now.
Okay. So anyway, the one lesson I learned when we're having a CabinCon weekend is don't try and squeeze in making cheese in between, because you might just miss out on some things. But what I didn't miss out on is the most incredible surprise. This moment I don't think I'm ever going to forget for as long as I live, because what happened was we were playing Meadow and I was oohing and ahhing and telling the stories and just really getting quite involved in the game. And I made the mistake of saying to Gavin, I said, when you leave this weekend, can't you just leave this game with us? And as I said that, I had to retract it, because we decided at the beginning of 2023 to have a policy of no borrowing and no lending, because we've just had some unfortunate experiences with that. So we just decided, you know what, we won't borrow games and we won't lend games, not because we want to be unfair or anything, but we just realize it's just good stewardship and it's better that way. And we rather just have people come up to CabinCon and play. And we still want to share the hobby and do everything we can to promote it. But anyway, I said that to him, and then I was quickly retracting that because of this policy we decided on at the beginning of the year. And the next thing, I heard this like rustling behind me, and I was about to turn around to see what was going on behind me, and the Meadow, the game, in its box. Because now just picture the scene. The game is all over the table, and we're all at the table, and I've visited the campfire a number of times. And now, all of a sudden, this game in its box lands in front of me in my place on top of my tableau of my little adventure I'd been on. It was like such a surprise. Talk about dropping out of heaven. It literally felt like that. It was a shock and a surprise and an amazement. And initially it was, what is this? What's just happened? And everybody was laughing, and they were so pleased to see how they had succeeded in shocking me adequately. And anyway, it turns out that this one couple that came had seen this game and they thought of me and they thought that I would appreciate it and love it. And they bought it for me, a present. It was a gift. I mean, it was just exceptional. I wasn't even going to tell anybody on the podcast because I'm still reeling in the amazement of it, actually. But I went home with Meadow under my arm, if you don't mind. I felt like I wanted to sleep with it. I wanted to put it under my pillow next. It was just incredible to actually, for that experience, just be given a game, such a beautiful game. And the sad part was I couldn't get my hands into it because they were bound up with burn shields. Oh, my goodness. But anyway, I waited for the healing to happen, which happened very quickly, I'm pleased to say. And it didn't take too long before I could get that game on the table. So thank you to the gift givers.
You know who you are.
I can't say thank you. It's like falls way too short. But you can know this. I'm going to be having and have had already many hours of tremendous pleasure from this game. And I feel just blessed right out of my socks. So that's the other part of my Meadow story. But back to your playing the games on the Sunday. It's interesting that, some of the games you went to play, you were really keen to find out about. And normally I'd say about a year ago or maybe even less, 6 months ago, any game that I asked Jamie, that's a bit extreme, I suppose, but I'd say to him, do you think we should have that in the library? And he'd go, yes, of course. And then he started getting a little bit more specific about, no, he doesn't think that's his kind of game. And
when the collection started pushing 300, I started getting a bit
we've got too many games.
Judicious about what I said yes to.
Yeah. We watched a video the other day about somebody who had 600 games, and they were saying, no, we've got too many games. We're going to have to do something about this. But we don't really want to. We're not there yet. We don't want to give up any of our games. We've got them especially because we want them and we like them and we love being able to play them. And that's one of the things that I've been doing on these podcasts. I've been sharing the stories from our shelves of ambition, whereby we take games off the shelf that we haven't played for a while or that we feel haven't had enough time at the table. And so we take them off and we play them. But when it comes to CabinCon, what we do with those is we pretty much just do what the group wants to do. We don't say, well, this is the game we're playing because this is part of our mission for this year. We don't do that at the CabinCon. We actually have our own little mission at home that we just working through those games.
When we're playing with other people, we usually just, especially if it's fellow gamers, we usually just, let the weekends roll as they will. And, people bring the games they're excited about, and so we play those. Yeah,
that's generally what happens. It's what we found happens more than anything else, is if people have a specific game that they are keen to get to the table, they bring it to CabinCon. So, that's it. I mean, I don't have shelves of ambition stories to tell. I've told them my Meadow story. And the other, oh, no. Yes, I can tell them that other story about that one that we've been playtesting.
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell you. Can I tell them the name? Okay.
It's on BackerKit at the moment, so
it's on BackerKit. That makes it public.
This episode on the 28th of March, 2023.
Right, this is it. It's called Wild Gardens, and it's all about foraging. And you probably gathered by now that this is my thing. We live at a private nature reserve, and it's not an uncommon sight to find me foraging. And that's another whole topic, because I could tell you all kinds of foraging stories. That's why the campfire was an attraction to me, the things that I discover while foraging. But there's now a game about foraging, and the artwork is stunning. Okay, it is amazing artwork, but nothing like this Meadow. Meadows, not when I say nothing like, I can't actually even compare them because they're both just absolutely incredible, their artwork. But the one looks like watercolors, and the other one I would call graphic art. No, digital art. I think that's the right word, digital art. Whereas Meadow doesn't look like digital art. It looks more...
It's probably done digitally, but it looks like
watercolors. Whereas Wild Gardens art looks like digital art, but absolutely mind-blowing. If you try and imagine a glass cup with tea in it, black tea in it, and a slice of lemon, and it's all opaque and you can see through it, and it's incredible. The artwork is just absolutely incredible, but the gameplay is amazing. We've played this game and played because we were part of the testers group people, and we just had a lot of fun up until now playing this. So now we may get it one day, but we live in South Africa, which means...
shipping is interesting,
yes,
to say the least.
Mostly we don't get things. Sometimes we do. So we live in hope. Anyway, Wild Gardens might come to us one day. We have been doing the print and play part of it until now. And it's just beautiful. So that's another story, talking about stories. But again, it's not one of the Shelves of Ambition stories.
Yeah, I'll drop a link to Wild Gardens on Board Game Geek in the show notes down below.
Okay.
Designed by Isaac Vega with art by Alyssa Minold and published by Rose Gauntlet Entertainment.
Aha.
So that is coming soon, sometime in the future. I think they're hoping to ship around March next year.
Oh, so is it on Backer Kit for a year then?
No, it's on Backer Kit at the moment as we speak, I think until the end of April or thereabouts.
So then why only shipping next March?
Because it's crowdfunding and that's how these things work.
Oh, you've got to have a lot of patience.
They've still got to do production and everything. Let's see.
Which is a good thing.
Okay, 22 days left on the crowdfunding campaign. And they are 245% funded.
Wow. Well done, guys.
They're doing really well there.
They've worked for years on this game. As I'm sure is the case of many designers. Just work for so many hours of labor of love. I think that's what this is. These designers, what they pour hours and hours into these games. Such a labor of love. Okay, so that's all I've got for today, and I'm going to go and put the kettle on now, because that's what I do. So I'm off to put the kettle on, so bye for now.
Thanks for listening to That Board Game Show. If you'd like to follow up on anything we've discussed today, I'll make sure to drop links in the show notes. And please consider subscribing to the podcast, subscribing to the YouTube channel. And if you really appreciate what we're doing here, you can visit our Patreon page on patreon.com/thatboardgameshow, where we give you early access to our content and little behind-the-scenes clips and so on. And with that, I will say thank you ever so much for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the show.